Ken Adams, and welcome to the Valley View. And this week we're interviewing Jane Posner and Carrie Fox with the Pringle community, Pringle Creek community, and they're talking about a community that is sustainable. And you're a resident and general manager
Correct.
of the community, and Carrie Fox is the outreach coordinator. And so we wanted to talk a little bit today about sustainability and how it is practically applied today here at Pringle Creek. So Jane, maybe you could give us a little bit of background about how this started.
Okay. Fairview Training Center was the school for developmentally delayed that the state ran for about 100 years, and that was closed in 2000. And the land was sold to a group of investors, and those investors decided that the Fairview property should be developed sustainably. And as a short little definition of sustainable, that would be using resources today in a way that preserves the resources for future generations. And in order to say what does a community based on that principle look like, they got together some of the finest minds to put together the Fairview Master Plan. And that represents many different points of sustainability, community-wide basis. And then a group of investors decided that that was a really big task. So one of them said, well, let me take the north 32 acres and I'll do the Fairview Master Plan in its full flower there. And that's what Pringle Creek community is.
So it's that 32 acres.
32 acres, yes.
You have a cafe, you have resident homes, and
yes,
it's still in beginning stages.
It's still in beginning stages, sort of. We have all the infrastructure is already in place for the entire community. And that would represent about 140 home and commercial sites. And when I say the infrastructure, we have pervious paving throughout the community. We have all the water, gas, electricity hookups for the entire site in and ready to go. As well as subscription services like telephone and cable TV. And one of the reasons that the whole community is done that way is we have pervious paving throughout, which means the rainwater goes through the paving. So with rainwater and then bioswales, which is a gathering of plants that are in the corners of the intersections, we handle all the rainwater on site, so we don't have any runoff into the streams.
Right.
Some of the other sustainable features that have been built into the community are green spaces. When we're fully built out, 35% of the community will be green space. We have living roofs. Some of our buildings have organic matter on the roof that will keep the temperature more moderated.
Provides insulation value.
Right. Our homes are all LEED Gold or Platinum certified, and LEED is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. And that is the third-party rating system that's internationally known that ensures that the homes are not only energy efficient, but built in a sustainable way with sustainable materials. And so our homes rate not just certified, but gold or platinum level.
Which is the top level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, Carrie, what is it that you want the greater Salem community to know about this center, and what kind of things can you provide to
Well,
Salem?
we, as Jane's been describing, we're a model of what's possible when people prioritize living within the environment. So we'd like to encourage people to visit. We'd like them to see what they can do in their neighborhoods, as well as come and see what they might like to enjoy out here. We have this building, for example, is a net zero energy building, as well as zero waste. So everything that comes in is recycled or composted. Besides being a community center, we're also an event hall, so people can have events here. But So the large picture is we'd like people to see how lovely it is to live sustainably. Really, it's a beautiful place and it's very comfortable. We all live in a way where like we pre-cycle, so you think about what you're buying before you buy it in terms of waste, and then we use resources in a respectful manner. And also we have 2 amazing Lord and Burnham glass houses. We call them glass houses because all of our homes are green.
Okay.
So we have 2 glass houses where we grow a lot of the produce that we use in our cafe here. So we have, food that's, I don't know, just across the street in that cafe.
Yes, and that makes it sustainable too. And you have your own compost heaps and like that to help keep the soil in good condition?
We have what we call dirt works, where we have worm
excellent.
bins. And so Jane will take like food from our kitchen and from the neighbors also and grind it up and put it in big worm bins that we have. And then that, I think, do you use the chicken waste too?
Yes.
We have chickens, and so bring all that together to add to our soil to help grow our plants.
So you don't need to buy petroleum-based products for fertilizing?
No, we're organic.
Yes, and that helps keep the soil in good condition too, because a lot of times the inorganic materials kind of end up depleting the soil. And as far as like the rainwater is concerned, that's another issue. I know, having been born in Oklahoma and lived in Oklahoma and Kansas, that like when the rain stops, then you have a big problem because the soil blows away.
Mm-hmm.
And so having the organic materials in there helps keep the soil in place, even if you have a dry winter like we have had. And this hasn't been severe, but like in various places on the West Coast, it has been a big issue, like in California, where they've had drought now for 3 years.
And so with our pervious pavement and our bioswales, we help to recharge the aquifer.
Right.
So we maintain the water that we have here. And also back to the soil, when you work organically, you're also just feeding that that ecosystem that's within the soil. So all of the organisms that are in that soil are keeping the moisture and
keeping
feeding
in place.
it, and their
Right, you
waste
have a
adds to
balance.
this. Yes, exactly.
And that's very important in nature, is to have a balance. And so maybe we could take now like a tour
Sure.
and see some of the facilities from the outside. And so I think we'll do that next. Hi, and we're now outside the main building where we were, and you were talking about how these have all been reused from materials that were here to start with. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about what we're seeing.
Well, this is a rehabilitated building. This is Painters Hall, and it was used to train students from Fairview Training Center, a little higher functioning, to be painters, and where the painters who provided services for the school over the years worked. And when we rehabilitated the building, we tried to reuse as many materials as possible. The Fairview Training Center had a system of steam heat, and so we've taken a lot of the steam pipes and used them for holding our trellises here and for the handle for the door, to repurpose them and to continue to use them. The doors are industrial doors from another portion of the site. We've harvested other materials. For instance, we have a table made out of a gym floor, so we call it our basketball table. And we've, when the community was first put in, the infrastructure was first put in, with the trees that were harvested, 80% were allowed to remain, and the other 20% that weren't healthy or weren't in the right place and had to be harvested were milled on site, and we've saved those trees, and the tables that we were sitting in front of are part of those big trees. So that's part of our repurposing and rehabilitating the building. This building has also been fitted with solar arrays, so we're grid-tied solar with an inverter, so the energy that is being produced on a beautiful day like today goes right into the grid. And over the course of the year, we actually produce more energy from this building than it uses for the entire year, to the tune of about enough energy to supply homes to 2 homes, or to supply electricity for 2 homes in Salem for a year.
Oh, okay.
So-
And I see we have an older residence up there in the corner.
Yeah. Well,
which is a bird's nest that...
we've been actively watching that, and we've got 4 chicks in it right now.
Oh, okay.
So,
So we have current residents. living
current
there.
residents, yes. Yes, we have some older nests that aren't being used this year, but we were going to wait until everything is fledged, and we'll clean some of them out. But we have a mama robin up there with, with 4 chicks.
Also, the solar helps to run the power for the geothermal pump.
Right. Right. When we feed back into the grid, the excess power actually stays on site and is.
And like approximately 90% of the roof is being used for solar.
I
at
would
least on this
say
side.
on the south side, it's probably closer to 70%.
70, okay.
Our solar grids are quite significant.
Yes, I noticed they were quite large
Yeah.
when I drove up. Okay. So go ahead, tell us about this area here.
Well, this is a really good place to see the bioswales that I was speaking about earlier. And around the entire intersection, we've got these plantings that consist of dogwoods, rushes, grasses, camas, which is the beautiful purple flower that's in bloom right now, and some other vegetation that will help to capture rainwater and then actually cleanse the water as it perks down through into the aquifer. There's a very specific function to this, and the choice of the materials that go into it is very important. A lot of natives, a lot of adapted species that can, once they're established, be maintained with very little care. They need a little bit of water during our dry season because they really like it a little bit wetter, but they handle all the rainwater. Between the pervious paving, and this paving at first looks pretty much like other paving,
Right.
but then when you look closely at it, it really has open
Lots of
pores.
little gaps.
So the rainwater filters through the paving, and then we capture it in the bioswales to treat the water as it perks down to the aquifer. So we don't have any runoff that goes into to Pringle Creek, which runs through the entire length of the property.
And I noticed you just cut a small portion next to the sidewalk. You let the rest of it kind of grow naturally.
Right. So this is a group of lots that will eventually be built, but part of our maintenance is to treat it as little as possible. So we do mow to keep the sidewalks clear.
Right.
But we let the rest go natural. We're hoping to have some wildflowers this year. We've thrown out some seeds, and we'll just see what happens. But yes, that is part of the way we do our integrated pest management for both our gardens and our grounds, which means we don't use any insecticides or herbicides, but we use different mechanical techniques and natural techniques for managing weeds and other unwanted elements.
And to help with our bees. We
Yes.
have bees as well, so our flowers will help feed our bees.
And fruit trees.
Oh yes.
And then behind us, I noticed those are fairly large greenhouses. Were they here before?
Yes, they were, and they have been rehabilitated as well. They were full of blackberries and overgrown, and
It
it's
was
just
a mess.
amazing. It was amazing how anybody had the foresight to say, "Oh, that's nothing but a tear down." So, but that is part of the sustainability of Pringle Creek. So they were rehabilitated in 2009, and we now have them. The first glass house, the one closer to us, is fully activated for both residents and our urban farmer, who is the one who's responsible for providing all our wonderful goodies for the cafe. And then the other greenhouse on the left is the back portion of it is being used for a potting shed and starting seedlings right now, and then we're going to be activating the front part of that later this fall and into the winter.
And your community gardens are available to people that from the community? How does that work?
The priority is for our cafe and the residents of Pringle Creek
Right.
community, but we also open it up to other people who would like to garden from the larger community. And we have several, maybe a half dozen partners that are have plots,
Oh,
or maybe
and
more
also
than
from the community group, Shangri-La also gardens here.
okay.
And so they come once a week or so and check out their plants.
that. Oh,
and
I think, yeah.
tend to them.
Yeah.
And you know, it's hard to believe that we're maybe a mile or so from the airport and
And
the
3
industrial
miles
park.
from downtown.
And this is, you know, actually a very peaceful location.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to believe that you're that close to, you know, an industrial area, so
Yeah.
to speak. In fact, I used to work right over here. So maybe we could take a closer look at the gardens and the community gardens and the glass houses.
Sure.
Great.
Okay, so we're here in front of the main glass house where you do a lot of your gardening.
Right.
And so this is an important part of keeping the cafe supplied with fresh food. And
Well, we also think about it as a community center. All the residents garden here, and we interact and visit and watch each other's stuff growing and help each other out. If somebody is gone for a day or two, and we'll just make sure that their stuff is watered and
Oh,
cared
okay.
for. So it's a real community
so you can go on
center.
vacation and somebody can look after it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to let our cameraman go through and take some shots of what's growing now.
Okay.
Point out.
So we have, these are where our beehives are, and they happen to be next to the chickens and right in front of our geothermal pump, so our injection well. And we didn't get to talk too much about the geothermal system, but it's heating and cooling that's driven by the Earth's constant temperature. And the homes that are built and will be built in this section are all on the geothermal loop.
And that will help provide consistent energy, you know, on cloudy days and so on.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really efficient way to heat and cool
Okay.
a home. Anything else, Jane?
The geothermal, just to give you a little bit of background, the geothermal, we have taken a well that was on the Fairview site and isolated it. And ground source water is about 55 degrees year round. And when I say we've isolated that well, we pull it up out of the aquifer, circulate it through the streets, and then inject it back down into the aquifer. And this is our injection well. And as each house is built, they can tap into that circulating water in the streets that's 55 degrees year round and harvest a little bit of energy from the that 55 degree water that then is used to heat the air. And then in the summer, we just run it in reverse and take some of the heat from the air and put it back into the water. This is accomplished with what we call a water furnace, which is very efficient and leads to part of the reason our homes are so green. and it's a sustainable
Sustainable
source.
way of doing that.
Sustainable way. The energy for the ground source water is actually solar. So the Earth's crust is storing this beautiful sunshine and then keeping the ground source water same temperature year round. Heat pumps don't, my understanding is heat pumps don't use any kind of refrigerant or that, but a water furnace does use a small amount of refrigerant that's in a closed system in the furnace to extract the heat and feed it back in. I think that's how it works.
Wow, they must have lots of hot springs everywhere.
I think they
But
do
it's
have.
not.
It's not.
They
hot
do have
springs?
some.
Okay, I thought.
But yeah, the
lithium-
beauty of this system is that it just takes advantage of the fact that the Earth is an insulator.
Right.
Right.
And so you can take advantage of that heat, that slight heat difference, to make a huge difference in your own heating and cooling.
Actually,
Soccer fans.
well, yeah, they're coming for a visit now. Oh, they're very friendly. chickens. So you got Plymouth Rock. So we're standing here in front of the community gardens, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on right now?
Well, beyond us, you can see the lines for the irrigation, and that's again one of the sustainable things. We use drip irrigation. So all the plots are marked out, and we're beginning to have people put in transplants and direct seeding into the garden. This mounded structure you see in front of us is another experiment, and it's called a hugelkultur, which is I think it's German in origin from the name, and it is a long-term compost pile that then serves to use as a growing medium. So underneath the mound there is big woody debris with logs up to 6 inches in diameter, and then gradually we have smaller things on top with smaller branches and then straw, and then it's covered with soil. And as the woody material begins to decompose and compost, it provides a little more heat. So you can see that that's got a great big head start on
the
the
growing
rest
season,
of the...
and it will last into the fall longer.
Exactly. So we
Okay.
can, and this is a no-till part
Right.
of the garden. So, and then you can see the raised beds in the far end of the garden, and then the hugelkultur. Those are no-till areas, and then we till in between.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're experimenting with different types of
To see
techniques.
what works.
And the hugelkultur looks like it's going great this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is very good for this time of the season already.
Yes. Are part of the environment of the soil itself. The microorganisms are a crucial part that we don't always appreciate, that need to be in that top crust. And when you till,
You
you
lose
bury
them.
them, and
Yeah.
you lose them and have to regenerate.
Reestablish. Yes. So now we're in front of a small little dwelling that has a live roof of
Yep.
flowers and grasses and other things. And
So yeah, this is a living roof. It helps insulate the roof, and it so part of our energy efficiency. And there's sedums in the front and some camas up there. I don't know all of the plants that are up there
well,
myself.
true. But then that also retains some of the water up there, so they're self-watering.
Mm-hmm.
And it does provide insulation and beauty at the same time.
And what the structure is we call it the geothermal house, and the infrastructure that keeps when we pull the water up out of the aquifer to charge the loop in the streets to act for the heat source heat and cooling source for our homes. It's pressurized, and this is the gut works for keeping that system going.
So we're in front of, looks like garages. And,
Yeah.
And so, but we've got 5-car garage here. And so is this for the residents, or how does this work?
Yeah, these are garages for some of the residents. Jane, you might say more about how that works.
Well, part of the sustainability of a community is having it be very walkable, and part of green homes is that you have remote garages. So behind us you can see 4 homes that are clustered closely with a common area in between. We have room for one more home to be back in the back. And the garages for these 5 homes are here. And people don't have to drive in their little box on wheels into the box that's attached to the big box that they live in and never interact with their neighbors. So this is one of the ways that you develop community, is having the interaction as people use the garage and use a common area to access their homes.
And I also noticed that you don't really have lawn, so that you don't need to waste a lot of time mowing the lawn and trying to keep the grass green, but you've got nice plants, you've got flowers, probably pretty consistently throughout the year.
Exactly, and we try to landscape with natives and acclimated species, and nothing that needs a lot of water. We try to xeriscape as much as we can. And we don't have a lot of grass. We have a little bit on some of the parkways in parts of the community, but then again, that's taken care of by our groundskeeper, and people don't have to mow. So it's one of the really nice features is you can have this beautiful home and have it landscaped with non-mowed stuff.
And you don't have to listen to the lawnmower on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And you also have actually a lawn up on top of the roof.
Right, this is another one of our living roofs, and right now you can see some crimson clover and poppies, and the low yellow is sedum on the front. And so this has a natural course that it goes through over the year. It will dry out during the summer, but then we have beautiful spring. This is self-sustaining, so we don't have to do anything. Every so often, Paco, our groundskeeper, gets up and maybe once trims down the dry stalks of the grasses that are there. Not large enough to produce all its needs for the year, but this is a community amenity that another feature of sustainability is we can have smaller homes, and we don't need that guest bedroom for the occasional use during the year when you have the guest cottage.
Well, that makes it feel really kind of nice. They have their own space, and if they're late risers, they don't need to worry about it, and you don't need to worry about being quiet for them. And so that's a hot water?
Yes, you can see up top is the photovoltaic, and over on the right side is the solar hot water.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
So as you can see, if you look down here, we've got our pervious paving, and you can see little organisms starting to grow here, but also some pores, so you have the ability for the rain to seep through into the ground underneath. So as we mentioned earlier, this smokestack was connected to what used to be the boiler building in front of it, and a lot of the steam pipes we showed at Painters Hall are taken from what was the boiler building. And the boiler was fed from inside this hog fuel shed, which was full of sawdust and various other fuels to power the Fairview Training Center, which is up on the hill outside of our property.